Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at the Power of the Force 2 line and some recent sales on eBay, some nice autographed items, some pre-production prototype type items, and then some standard kind of retail release stuff. I know you guys love the Power of the Force 2 line based on the number of views these videos get, so I try to do one of these every month or two, and let's go ahead and dig in. It's just hard sometimes to find data, and other than just $5, $10, $20 items, I try to wait to make these videos when there are some interesting items to talk about. So let's do that. First, I thought this was a pretty nice deal. This was a $19.95 case assortment from Walmart for the Power of the Force 2 line. They were all green cards. They even had some episode 1 sneak peek Chewbacca in there. And it gives you an idea of the types of stuff that's still out there. People would buy these by the case, park them away for 20 years, 30 years, and then start reselling them. And, for the most part, there's just so much Power of the Force 2 out there. It was kind of an oversupply issue, so there's really not a lot of value unless they're very rare variants. And this kind of shows that when you've got a beautiful near mint plus condition lot of, let's see, what's that, 16 mint on cards, nice assortment with some hollow stickers, some non-hollow stickers, like I said, the episode 1 sneak peek for Chewbacca, and that lot included the original shipper box from Walmart, from Hasbro to Walmart. So that set sold for $110. I mean, $110 for 16 different mint on cards, free shipping, so less than $10 a piece there. Next up, this was an interesting sale. So this was a Power of the Force kind of pre-production item, and you can see there it's got an, like, the R2-D2 doesn't have any of the stickers on it, and it was labeled an employee-owned card. And when it says .00 card in the upper right corner there on the auction description, when you go to the back of the card, there at the bottom, there are production numbers right below the Made in China. You can see 521787.00. So that is kind of like a day zero production card. And it was probably a test shot type of thing to make sure that the factory sample, the factory was working okay, and this one didn't have any stickers for the R2-D2, as you can see there. So not in the greatest shape, but most of these kind of items aren't, because they were passed around from engineer to engineer within Hasbro / Kenner. And so this one did sell, though, in an auction for $158.50. So, I don't really know the production number type things too well, so that's my guess as to what the .00 means. And it just gives you an idea of how the manufacturing process worked and how they were able to track these mint on cards internally at Hasbro / Kenner. So anyway, that one did sell for $158.50. Some production retail release type vehicles that have sold. We had the Millennium Falcon, the electronic Millennium Falcon, huge box for this one, listed for $200. And this one sold for $160 and a best offer accepted. I found 3 other factory sealed Power of the Force 2 Falcons that sold, and those 3 sold for $149, $125, and $170. So it gives you a price range to aim for. $120 to $170 is the range for a factory sealed Millennium Falcon. The AT-AT, the Walker, this sold by Brian's Toys, factory sealed in really good shape, for $161.50 in an auction. And then I found another one that sold in a buy it now for $205. So if you're looking for either the Falcon or the AT-AT, that gives you a price range for those. The Rancor with Luke Skywalker is another one that really presents nicely because of the big window to the box. It just looks really cool there. It does have a really nice presentation to it. This one was in really great shape and sold for $77 plus $13 shipping in an auction. So about $100 or so, a little under that for the Power of the Force 2 Rancor. Here was a graded AFA 8.5 Princess Leia as her Jabba's prisoner outfit. This one was the Holo Card Collection 1 green card. That one sold for $90. $90 free shipping on that one. And here was another pre-production item. This was a quality control tag sample. So this is the famous green Kenner standard card. This was signed off by the QA engineer. I think his name is Brian. His autograph is on almost all of these Kenner standard cards, so he was really involved with this. You can see there in the upper right hand corner, the date of this was 1/20/1998 from the Smile factory. And it was beat up. It had a crease at the top of the card there, and that's very common for a lot of these Kenner standard cards. You very rarely find these in near mint condition. So that one did sell. It was listed for $90. Best offer accepted on that one was $75. But that's not a bad deal to get, a pre-production item for $75. Very cool to have that. And let's see what else we got. All right, so this was a really good deal. This was probably underpriced, in my opinion. And maybe not, I don't know. But, it did have a crease on the card. But this is the Kenner Canada square card. You can see there, it's not cut around the Darth Vader's head like a lot of the US versions are. You can see the French language there on the front, and it's signed by Carrie Fisher. And really, her autograph on anything is a lot more usually than $214, which is what this sold for. I thought that was a really great deal, although this figure is probably one of the ugliest figures in Kenner/Hasbro history. Looks nothing like Princess Leia. I don't even want to talk about what that looks like. It doesn't look good. But that Carrie Fisher autographed Kenner Canada card did sell for $300 Canadian, which is $215 US. Really good deal there for her autograph. Some other autographed items. We've got a Dave Prowse signature on a red card, Darth Vader. And that one was listed for $75. The best offer accepted on that was $50. I found another one that did sell for $75, so $50 to $75. It is kind of crazy to me how much Dave Prowse's signature and Jeremy Bullock's signature have come down in price despite them passing. And it's kind of sad in a way to me that they're not worth more. But, they did sign a lot of stuff. So it's a supply and demand thing. And as my generation ages out, the next generation doesn't even know who they are. So it's just kind of sad, but that's the truth of it. So that one did sell for $50. I found another one that sold for $75. This was a beautiful gold signature on a red card for Boba Fett. So this was Jeremy Bullock with a nice gold marker used. I thought that was kind of nice. Usually it's a silver marker. That one was listed for $140 and sold for $110. And it was in pretty clean condition as well. So that one had, I think, let's see here. That one had the full circles on hands. And again, gold signature for Jeremy Bullock. And here was another one. This one was the Japanese version. Also signed in gold, coincidentally. You don't usually see that. This was from 2000. They're saying it's from Japan, but I don't see anything that denotes that this is a Japanese version. It looks just like a standard red card to me with the sticker for Boba Fett. So anyway, that one, it says Jeremy Bullock Japan, but it must have been, it's probably because it's dated like that. Usually when they're dated like that, it is from a specific convention. But usually with Japanese conventions, they use Japanese Tommy Takara cards. But anyway, for this one, they used a red card, US card, and it was signed and dated. That one was listed for $150 and sold for $120. So $120 for that one. Next up, I've got some more Weequays that sold, and the Hasbro Canadian version of the freeze frame Weequay is less expensive than the US card. The US card is very pricey, as you'll see in a second, but the Hasbro Canada version has gone up a little bit in price. This one sold for $90. You can see there the multi-language. That's how you tell the difference, is just look for the multi-language on the front of the card, and then also multi-language around the freeze frame. So that one, again, did sell for $90. And then we've got some US cards that are more expensive. So here is the US freeze frame Weequay. It's one of the rarest production examples from the freeze frame line. That one sold for $175. We had yet another one that sold for $265, so a pretty wide range there. And then Brian's Toys just had this one at auction. It was an AFA 80 Plus for the US freeze frame. It is fairly rare. That one did sell for $244.50. So that's the most recent data point and probably the most correct data point as of right now. I think nowadays you should probably stick to 175 or below for a near mint example of the US freeze frame. They've come down a lot in price. I have seen some sell for closer to even $100 in auction. So if you're patient, you might be able to find it for that in an auction. Next up, we do have an AFA 90 for the AT-AT driver. That's one that on the freeze frame card that's maybe a little more difficult to find sometimes. I don't know if it was a mail away or a Star Wars Club exclusive. I can't remember. I feel like it was something like that for the AT-AT driver on the freeze frame specifically. So this one was an AFA 90 listed for $150. The best offer accepted on that was $105. And the last one I wanted to show you was an interesting one. These are kind of pre-production, reference photos that were done. And this one is a lot of two that included Darth Vader with the removable helmet, as you can see there. And it says Hasbro Inc. photography, do not reproduce. And then this one is for the deluxe series Stormtrooper that came with the crowd control. It says crown control, but it was actually crowd control on the final production item. So it's just interesting that it had an error on the actual tag that was photographed along with the crowd control, deluxe series Stormtrooper. And then here's the Darth Vader. Both of them are from the rear. This one did have some damage to the actual photograph, unfortunately. But these sold in an auction for $127.50. Again, it's just kind of a cool pre-production item. There's a lot of collectors out there that like to collect the pre-production Power of the Force 2 stuff, whether they're chromolins or proof cards or these reference photos. And it's just the first time I've seen something like that on eBay for these two specific figures. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales for the Power of the Force 2 line from 1995 to 2000. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back soon.